If you feel like you're doing something with your money, but still feel oddly stuck, this video is for you. You might be earning, you might be saving, you might even be investing. But underneath all of that, there's a quiet question you haven't been able to answer. What actually comes first for me? Not forever, not perfectly, just now. Most people don't realize this, but feeling behind financially is rarely about income. It's almost always about decision order. Here's the bottleneck I see over and over again with smart, capable adults. They are trying to move forward financially without having decided what their money is actually for in this season of life. So money leaks everywhere. A bit to savings, a bit to debt, a bit to investing, a bit to just in case. There is nothing wrong with any of those individually, but together they cancel each other out. This creates a very specific feeling. You're busy with money, but you're not directed with money. And this is how it usually shows up in real life. You move money, then undo it. You start something, then pause it. You feel a burst of clarity, then doubt creeps back in. You tell yourself you're reviewing options, but really you're carrying too many decisions at once. You might open your banking app and feel slightly tense. Not because anything is wrong, but because nothing feels settled. Every choice feels provisional. And provisional decisions drain energy. This is where many people get stuck without realizing it. They think the problem is discipline, or confidence, or not knowing enough yet. So they keep learning. This is why consuming more money content doesn't help. Another podcast, another strategy, another opinion. Each one sounds reasonable, but they all assume something you haven't clarified yet. They assume you already know what matters most right now, what can safely wait, and what you are intentionally ignoring for a defined period of time. Without that clarity, every new idea creates friction, not progress. Because now you're not just managing money, you're managing mental noise. Every option stays alive in your head. And when everything is a possibility, nothing becomes a commitment. Most people don't realize this, but staying undecided often feels safer than choosing. Because choosing means something becomes real. It means you might be wrong. It means you might need to adjust. It means you're no longer hiding behind preparation. So instead, you stay in motion without direction. You tell yourself you're being careful. You tell yourself you're waiting for clarity. You tell yourself you'll act once you feel more certain. But certainty doesn't arrive in advance. It arrives after commitment. This creates a quiet loop. You think about money more than you should. You revisit the same questions. You mentally rehearse decisions without finalizing them. And because nothing is resolved, nothing rests. Even when you're not actively thinking about money, it's still running in the background. A low-level hum of unfinished business. That background noise takes up more energy than most people realize. It shows up as irritability, as avoidance, as a sense that you're always slightly behind yourself. And the longer this goes on, the harder it becomes to choose. Because now you're not just deciding about money, you're deciding about identity, about what kind of person you are, about whether you trust yourself, about whether this season of life has direction. So you hesitate, not because you don't care, but because you care deeply and don't want to waste time. Ironically, that hesitation is what wastes it. Because while you're waiting for the perfect decision, time keeps moving. And doing nothing is still a decision, just not a conscious one. What breaks this loop isn't certainty. It's containment. A decision that says, for this period of time, this is what matters most. Not because it's perfect, but because it's chosen. Once something is chosen, the pressure eases. You stop scanning for alternatives. You stop reopening settled questions. You stop carrying everything at once. Your nervous system relaxes. Not because life is solved, but because it's no longer scattered. This is especially true in midlife, because by this stage, life is fuller. There are more responsibilities, more competing priorities, less appetite for wasted effort. You're not experimenting casually anymore. You're choosing what actually matters. And generic advice starts to feel strangely disconnected. Just invest more. Just save harder. Just follow this system. Those suggestions assume unlimited time and energy. They don't account for fatigue or changing priorities or the desire to feel settled instead of constantly adjusting. So instead of clarity, you feel quiet pressure, a sense that you should be more certain by now. And when certainty doesn't come, you hesitate again. You keep researching, you keep tweaking, you keep waiting for confidence to appear. But confidence doesn't come before the decision. It comes after holding one long enough to see what happens. What actually creates progress is not more effort. It is deciding. For the next 90 days, this is what comes first, and everything else becomes background noise. Not ignored forever. Just intentionally deprioritized. This is not about restriction. It's about coherence. That single decision does 3 things immediately. It reduces mental load. You stop carrying 5 competing plans in your head. It restores confidence. Not because you suddenly know everything, but because your actions finally align. And it stops second-guessing. Because you've already decided what not to do for now. Clarity doesn't feel dramatic. It feels quieter. Fewer tabs open in your mind. Less background anxiety. Less constant evaluation. You still don't know everything, but you know what comes first. And that changes how every decision feels. At this point, many people notice something interesting. Once the pressure to decide eases, they realize how much energy the indecision was taking. Not dramatic stress, not panic, just a constant background weight. It's the feeling of carrying unfinished business. You don't talk about it, you don't complain about it, but it shows up in small ways. You avoid opening accounts, you put off conversations, you delay actions that would require clarity, not because you're incapable, but because clarity feels heavier than staying vague. Vagueness keeps options open, and open options feel safe until they don't. Over time, that safety turns into stagnation. You're not moving forward, but you're not resting either. You're suspended. What most people want isn't a perfect answer. It's permission to stop reevaluating, to stop second-guessing, to stop carrying every possibility at once. That's what a clear decision actually gives you. Not certainty, but relief. Relief from endless comparison. Relief from constant internal debate. Relief from feeling like you should be further along by now. And once that relief is there, taking action becomes quieter. Less emotional. Less charged. Just the next logical step. I created a short paid decision framework for people who recognize this exact bottleneck. It's not a course. It's not motivation. And it doesn't try to teach you everything about money. It does one thing. It helps you decide, calmly and deliberately, what comes first for you right now, and what you are intentionally not doing for a defined period of time. That's it. Because once that decision is made, everything else becomes simpler. If you're tired of carrying multiple half decisions in your head, This gives you a structured way to resolve them into one clear direction. Not hype, not pressure, just clarity. If this video described you, the next step is simple. Click the link below, read the page, decide calmly. Either way, you will walk away clearer than you arrived, and that clarity alone is worth more than another year of guessing.